Hello and welcome to the CQ training on the Nimbus and Simply Hosted platform. Both systems utilize the exact same programming interface, and so I will kind of talk about the programming because it's the same between the two of them. There are a few differences that you don't need to worry about in the cloud that you do need to worry about for a premise system, but overall we'll mix them together. So first of all, let's just start with, out of the box, how do you access the system? Well, if it's a cloud system, you don't have to worry about that. If it's simply hosted, you will receive via email the address of your phone system. We also have each dealer has their own page that tracks all of them, so you'll receive a link there as well. If it is a premise phone system, an actual Nimbus phone server, anywhere from the Nimbus 40 to the Nimbus 1000, all of that is standardized. Every Nimbus premise system ships statically set at a specific IP. Every Nimbus ships with a static IP of 192.168.1.245. All right, I'll just show that to you right here. Every premise gets sent with an address of 192.168.1.245. You'll see the username is admin, and then the password there is CQ Simple with the first three letters capitalized. That's your dealer login. And once you access it, you can create other logins, or you can change your password. Certainly encourage you to change your password to customize it for yourself. But just to summarize, every premise phone system starts at the same IP address, so you probably have to set your computer statically to be on the same network so you can plug into it. And then once you access it, you can change the IP to match your current networking scheme. So 192.168.1.245, and then there is the username admin and the credentials of CQ Simple. So what's going to happen here is this is the initial landing page of the phone system. It's a titch bit different for a premise system than the cloud, but it basically takes you here. You're going to click on the Nimbus Voice Admin link, right? And here is where you're going to use the credentials that I just provided you. The credentials are the same for the cloud or premise. Once again, the cloud's address will be different based on your own server. So it'll take you here for your login, and I'm just going to walk you through how I set up a phone system if I'm looking to get a customer up and running and making phone calls basically as fast as possible. So the first place I'm going to go, if I am doing a premise system, I'm going to go Settings, Asterisk SIP Settings. And then I'm going to put in my public IP. And this is really of where the phone system is going to be. So if you don't know where it's going to be, you can put it for your current network. Obviously, most people program this in their office, then take it to the customer site. But this does need to match, and you can change it. This does need to match, in the end, wherever the phone system is going to be. If you're working on a cloud system, this will be taken care of for you, and just leave it alone. No need to change anything here. So I'll show you this in a little bit once we do some changes. It will be helpful to have your Nimbus connected to the internet. So right now you probably have your computer, assuming we're talking about a premise system here. Right now your computer is plugged into your phone system and it has no connection to the internet. Step one is to get this on your network so the phone system can talk to the internet. And that's for a variety of reasons. One thing you're going to notice for a Nimbus, if it's not connected to the internet, is it can be pretty slow. The phone system is reaching out for a variety of items, and if it can't talk to the internet, it just slows it down. So a lot of people will call in and say, hey, something's not quite right with this phone system, and it's because it has no connection to the internet. So how do you get it on the internet? So first thing I go to, if I'm doing it with premise system, I'm going to go to admin, and I'm going to click on system admin. And you're not going to need to change all of these, but first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to DNS, and I'm going to set my DNS to match. That should be the first one, basically the loopback, the 192.127.0.0.1, and then you can use whatever DNS you want here If this is a cloud system, leave it alone. If it's a premise system, you can change this if you've got your own DNS you like to use. From there, I'm going to go to Network Settings. So Network Settings, this is where you change the IP of your phone system. So ETH0 is the one you're plugged into, and if this is a premise system, you're going to see it's going to be set statically. This is going to be 192.168.1.245. This is going to be 24. And this is going to be 192.168.1.1. That's just how it ships. You can change this to be on your network, change the IP of it, change the net mask. It's probably going to be 24. Gateway is the IP of your router. So whatever the IP of your router on your home network, wherever you're doing your programming, change that to be your router IP. You know, so if you're doing 10.1.1.245, and this might be a 24, and then your router would be 10.1.1. You know, I don't know, whatever your router is, could be 1. You would just match this to get it on your network, which would then allow it to get to the internet. And once you've set this, go ahead and hit Save Interface. It's going to ask you, are you sure you want to change that? Go ahead and hit Yes, and the screen will disappear, because then the IP will have changed to whatever you changed it there. And at that point, you can unplug it from your computer and plug it into your network, and then it can talk to the internet. Some other things you're going to want to change here: intrusion detection. This is basically the system's firewall. It's the system's blocking their attempt to log in. So I like to make this quite high. This is how long things are banned for. I like to set my max retry to 4. I like to leave that to be 600. I'd prefer to not put my email in there. I do not want to get emails for banned IPs. And then right here in your whitelist, this is important. If you're doing a local Nimbus, you want to be sure to have the local IP scheme, whatever your local IP scheme is. And then you also want to have the IP of your office. You know, you're going to probably give yourself remote control. So give yourself the IP of your address. You probably want to have the IP of your SIP trunks and any other IPs. These are just IPs that you don't want to get banned. You know, once a phone can get banned and then you can't get into the programming, that's kind of annoying. If this is a cloud system, you don't need to worry about local IPs here. But you do want to put in your office IP, maybe the office, and certainly the IP of the customer site, the public IP of the customer site. Once you put in everything in here, simply hit Save. It's kind of a two-step process. You want to hit Save, and then you want to hit Restart. Once again, if you first don't put your Nimbus on the internet or on your network, which can get to the internet, all of these things are going to be slow. Power options. Power options is the safe and best place to both power it down and to reboot it. You know, don't just pull the power plug. Not a good idea. Time zone. If you need to change the time zone of your system, simply select the right time zone, hit Submit, and then this does require a reboot. So change what this needs to be, save it, and then go back to Power Options and reboot it. And then that will just take your time zone and put it into effect. Storage is an important one. The system will send you emails based on 2 thresholds, and you can set those thresholds, what percentages you want, and then how often it emails you. Once the system fills itself up, it will basically freeze. The customer will usually report that they can't part calls, and that's your sign that there might be an issue with storage on the system. But knowing beforehand is obviously key. Or the larger the system, the more storage there is. Cloud systems have less storage as well. So that's the most important thing for system admin. This is also where you're going to find your email. If you're doing a cloud system, that's going to be taken care of for you. If you're doing a premise system, that's on you. To add an email relay, the system can send emails on its own, like voicemail to email. However, some people's email block them, so you need to then move through and create a Gmail account and so on to attach it. So it gets a little complicated. It's certainly doable, but if you're doing a cloud system, that's all taken care of for you. Otherwise, you'll need to create the email account for the system to send relays for you. Okay, so that's the first place I go. I get the phone system, I log into the default IP, I then change the IP to get it on my network. Once I get it on my network, I log back in, and now I can change other things, and savings much faster because now it can talk to the internet. Okay. Once I take care of system admin, I'm going to go ahead and start to create some extensions. So under applications, I'm going to click on extensions here. You can see right off the bat we don't have any extensions. You'll also notice this is our little expander menu. This is going to always pop out. Some people like that, some people don't. If you don't want that to pop out, click on your cog, and then deselect the keep nav bar expanded. That's the nav bar. Once you unclick it, that nav bar is not going to pop out on its own. So at this point, we don't have any extensions. If you want to create an extension, hit the Add Extension drop down, and then I would choose the Chan PJ SIP extension. It used to be Chan SIP, but that's legacy. That's kind of deprecated. The only time I see people using Chan SIP is for maybe paging adapters, but even then, PJ SIP is your best option here. The benefits of PJ SIP is that it allows you to have multiple devices with the same extension. SIP does not allow that. So PJ SIP, you could have technically 3 desk phones or more, and all of them are extension 200. So multiple devices, same extension. Same thing for mobile apps. Yeah, that's where it really becomes helpful. A user can have the same extension on their desk phone, their mobile app, and their desktop app, and so they like that. So PJ SIP is the way to go. There's actually less to set up in PJ SIP. The other thing to note here is, there's hundreds of settings. You change very few of them. So first of all, you need to give it a number. It needs to be unique. You can't have more than one extension with the same extension. Give it a name. So we'll call this Mark Vogel. You don't have to set outbound caller ID. That's only if this is going to be different than the system's outbound caller ID. If you don't put something there, it's just going to use the standard base, whatever the system has. Emergency caller ID, you actually don't need to worry about that. It'll be set for you. That'll be covered in a later module. The secret, if you hover over that, this is how the device registers to the phone system. Don't change that. Don't shorten it. Some dealers have a way of doing that, and it works for them. My advice for anybody kind of just starting off here would be to leave that secret alone. Okay. From here, and you can click on tabs and the data saves. Voicemail's up to you whether you want to turn it on or turn it off. If you want to turn it on, just set that to yes. Set a password. I wouldn't do no password. It's not great. And I also probably wouldn't do the same as the extension. There's a security setting on the system that will make the user change that. So may as well just avoid that. So go ahead and set your voicemail password. And from here you can put in their email address, if you want to do voicemail to email, and then you can attach it. So that's going to attach the recording, and then it'll email it out. You've got some other options here. If you have any questions as to what these are, I'm not going to go through every setting here. This is kind of just how to get a phone system up and running. If you hover over the question mark, it'll tell you what it is. But this is a nice one, just delete voicemail. If you set that to yes, when the system sends out that email, it'll delete it. Some people think when the system sends out the voicemail as an attachment, and then people think that when they delete that email, that deletes the voicemail. The system has no idea that you deleted that email. The system has no idea that you listened to that email. So a lot of times people's voicemail will fill up because they thought they deleted the email. Well, they did delete it. But setting this to yes can be useful. The only downside here is if the email bounces or it doesn't get to the customer, that voicemail's gone. So definitely don't set that to yes until you verify that the customer is receiving the emails. Once you know they're receiving, and maybe they complain about their voicemail box filling up, you can come back in here and turn that on. From here you got Find Me, Follow Me. Find Me, Follow Me allows a user to basically kind of pair their cell phone to their desk phone. Most people use mobile apps now, so this is becoming less common. And with the mobile app is the same extension as your desk phone, so it kind of makes the Find Me, Follow Me obsolete. But if you don't have the mobile app, you can use this. You can simply turn this on or off, and this gets toggled with the feature code *21. And what this means is that this can ring your desk phone for the initial time. Let's just say it rings your desk phone for 20 seconds, and then after ringing the desk phone, it stops and it rings another phone for 40 seconds. And then here is where you put that in. So you would put in, a cell phone. Since it's an external phone number, you'd put a # after it, and then go ahead and you can save that. So what this means is if someone calls 101, it's going to ring the desk phone. If they don't pick up, it's going to send it to the cell phone. So it's going to find them. It's going to follow them. Once again, with mobile apps, I don't see this used as often. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. But that's basically it for setting an extension. There's very few things you need to do besides give it a number and a name. You don't have to set up voicemail. You can always set that up later. And go ahead and just create extensions, as many as you need. You can do this via CSV. We'll cover that in a different video. If you're kind of putting in 20, 30, 40, 50, 600, 1,000 extensions, at that point you don't want to do it. You do not want to do it one by one. It's better to do a CSV file. You'll notice that when you saving things on the Nimbus and Simply Hosted is kind of a two-step process. So you submit it, and then you're going to see an apply config. The apply config is kind of like the final save. So you can do a bunch of changes, save, submit, and all of those kind of build up. And they don't actually take effect until you decide to hit apply config. And you don't, it looks like that. You don't have to press that until you want to. You can make a whole bunch of changes and then hit it, because it rewrites a bunch of the code. You don't have to press that. I certainly don't encourage you to press that every time it appears. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting all day for it to kind of reload everything. And once again, if your system's not connected to the internet, apply config will definitely take a long time. The other thing you want to set up here, most of these other things you're not going to use much. So PJ SIP I use for phones. If I'm doing a voicemail box, like a shared voicemail box, meaning that there's no actual physical device, then I will use a virtual extension. So you can click Add Virtual Extension. Notice there's no secret. All you do is you give it a number, 200. You give it a name, so we'll call it Sales Voicemail. There's no outbound caller ID because there's no device. So virtual has no device. It's basically just a virtual voicemail box. So you can turn on voicemail here, give it your password. You can put multiple addresses in here, and this is true for virtual and PJ SIP. I didn't mention it previously, but you can add multiple emails to the same voicemail box, and then it'll send it if you set that to yes. If you set that to no, it'll just send an email telling the person they've got a voicemail, which isn't that helpful. This one actually attaches the recording. So you can add multiple, and they're just separated by comma, and you don't need any spaces. If you try and do no password, it'll give you a warning. So set your password whatever you want. Okay. So now we've got ourselves a PJ SIP extension and a virtual, for a group voicemail, and then an actual user. Okay, so that's how I would start with the phone system. The other thing I would do, as I mentioned, is Asterisk SIP Settings. If you're doing a simply hosted, a Nimbus in the cloud, don't worry about this. If you are doing a premise phone system, then once you get it on your network, go ahead and just press the Detect Network Settings. It will fill it in for you, assuming you have your Nimbus on the network. it'll talk to your gateway and it'll ask what the IP is. So you're going to probably have to do this twice. Do it at your office, and then once you're at the customer site, you're probably going to need to redo this because their IP is different than yours, obviously. This is kind of a two-step process. So you want to copy this external address. Once you detect it, it should fill it in for you. If you click that and it doesn't fill it in for you, then I would check your gateway address. Sometimes people will press this and it'll sit there for a long time and then it'll say cannot be found. If that is you and it's a premise phone system, go back to System Admin, go to Network Settings, and verify that your gateway is the IP of your router, the local IP of your router. That's usually the problem. But this is a cloud system, so we don't have to worry about that. But assuming this is a premise system, hit the detect network settings. I mean, this will work for the cloud, but it'll just tell you what you already see. Copy the external address and then go to CHAN SIP right here, and you want to paste it here. These two should match. CHAN SIP IP and then general SIP. Those two should be the same thing. And you'll have to. This one will fill in automatically once you hit detect network settings, and you'll come over here and hit to paste it right here to match. The other thing is for some customers, they can have a wide variety of local networks, so you can change the subnet here. But if you've got, some people have, based on fiber, they might have different local networks all talking to the same phone system. So you can add multiple local networks here. Typically, you're gonna, if this is an issue, you might find one of your remote sites not having audio. In that case, check to see if their IP scheme is here for your local network. And that's typically if you're running VPNs between sites and the site has different IP scheme. Once you've made this change, I'm going to get rid of this because it's not actually true. Just hit submit. And then you're going to hit apply config. Changes to the network settings does require a reboot for the audio. If you don't reboot it, you're going to make a phone call and you're either going to have one-way audio or no audio. So if you change your NAT settings here, submit, apply, and then reboot it. And remember, the best way to reboot it is under System Admin, Power Options. You'll want to reboot it from here and give it some time. Don't rush it. It's going to take 2 to 4 minutes to power. It basically shuts down every single process it needs to in order. It then, in reverse, starts those processes. So just give it some time before you try to access it, or before some people try to get anxious and kind of physically power off things on their own. But just give it time. It'll be fine. So that concludes the initial quick setup on the Nimbus or the simply hosted platform. Join us for our second installment for this module as we talk about how to set up outbound routes, inbound routes, DIDs, and trunks. Thanks.